Hey everyone, it's Nons, and I want to do an anxiety update, and I also want to announce a winner for the giveaway I had a couple of weeks ago. On to the recent events of my life. I wanted this year to be good. I wanted it, I wanted to do something positive. I didn't want to stay in the slump that I was in, and um, I just wanted to feel better about life in general. Unfortunately, that's not how it's been going. It has been just really, really rough. I think I talked about this before. 2 months ago, my dad, whom I take care of, was hospitalized. And when he came home, he had more care. I had to care for him more. Like there were additional things I had to do. And I got exhausted, and a week ago, exactly a week ago, um, he called me into his room and he said he needed help, and I was just expecting maybe he had fallen or something, but when I went in the room I noticed that his breathing was labored. And the scary part is that his breathing was labored and he already has like oxygen hookup. So I knew that there was something major going on, and it's hard to convince him to really go to the hospital if it's necessary. So I tried giving him his inhalers, seeing if that worked, and it wasn't working. He still wasn't really breathing very well. And then I was like, Dad, I need to call 911. Will you say I could call 911? And he kept on shaking his head no. But I knew it was to the point where if I waited any longer, I don't think he would have been around. So I called 911, and I instantly, after I got off the phone, went into panic attack mode. The first time I didn't, but I wasn't alone. This time I was alone with him, and I had to hurry up and like get dressed and call family members, while I was getting dressed, and wait, for the ambulance to get here. And the first responders were actually firemen that weren't very helpful at all. And by the time the ambulance got to the house, my dad was like passed out because he still couldn't really take in full breaths. So it was really, really bad. And then they were trying to sit him in a chair to bring him down the stairs, and it's like, how do you put a passed out person in a chair? It just didn't make any sense. And then another EMT came through and said just lift him up from his sheet and carry him down the stairs. And I don't understand how they don't get it together in times of emergency. They are emergency responders, and they sure enough don't give any comfort to anybody, and they don't really, so far, know what they're doing. It's at least the people that came in here this time, and it was just really bad. So he got rushed to the hospital with lights and sirens, and I was just like really, really freaking out. Then when we got into emergency, they instantly intubated him. So they instantly put a tube down his throat for him to breathe. And he was already passed out, but they had to keep him asleep with medication so that he wouldn't wake up and pull the tube out. During this whole process, they tell me that it's a stroke. And by the time the CAT scan's done and everything, they're saying, no, it's not a stroke, it's congestive heart failure. And telling me that basically, if he did wake up, he was deprived of oxygen for too long, that he probably has brain damage. If he did wake up or start breathing on his own, that would be like a miracle. They didn't think it would happen, and basically they're telling me that I had to prepare for some hard decisions. And saying that they didn't say it straight out, but everything led to he's not going to make it. So it was just hard to sit in the room and feel like I already lost my dad. And in that process, I'm sitting there, and my daughter's there, and I'm just wondering why life just continues to be this roller coaster of hellish things happening. And when it does, knowing the lack of support just makes it more traumatic than anything. Eventually, after hours and hours went by, they said they were going to put him in ICU, and there was nothing more they could really do. And basically, it was just a waiting game to wait and see if after a couple of weeks, that's what they said, if after a couple of weeks he does start breathing on his own, to see if he has any brain activity. And they made it seem really hopeless that he would just be alive. And so my sisters came later on that night when he was in ICU, and we got to see him before we left. But like I said, once again, he was still unconscious, still had the tube down his throat. And it was just really hard to leave, because I'm like, am I going to get a call during the night? Because they said any call is bad news, basically. So if my phone rang and it was them, it was bad news. And that was horrible to go home with. So I went home. I didn't really sleep. And Saturday, when we went in to see him, they told us to wait 15 minutes. And I'm like, what are they doing? I really thought something was, like, it was the end. And they said, no, he's doing well, and they're going to take out the tube. And so we waited a while, and they took out the tube, and he still wasn't really aware of what was going on, and he could hardly speak. His speech was really slow. And after about, I would say, 6 hours, he became more alert, and he just said, am I alive? He thought he was dead. And it was horrible. And he's still in the hospital. He's out of ICU, but only 45% of his heart is pumping. And that's the damage, that the congestive heart failure, he already had it in the beginning. He already had it for years, but when you have more episodes of congestive heart failure, you get in a worse state of health. And I had to finish writing the English paper while I was in ICU. And I had to try to catch up with like 5 quizzes when I would be home after the hospital, or just my sister would go there and I would take a day off and try to catch up on my schoolwork. But it's been very, very hard. It has been so difficult to even focus on schoolwork. I'm dissociating a lot because this is really, really painful for me. So even when I read, it doesn't soak in my brain, so I could just read chapters and chapters, and then when the quizzes come, it's like, wow, what did I just read? I don't know, because I dissociate. I'm off somewhere else, because this life, what I live on a daily basis, is so intense with pain that I rather have my mind go off somewhere where I don't feel it so intensely, because I don't know what else to do. And so school, I'm trying not to give up on it. It was hard before this happened. It seems impossible now, but I'm still working on it.